Welcome to Just Minded My Business Media LLC, where you get information that you can use. I'm your host, Ida Crawford. But before we dive in, subscribe to Just Minded My Business on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Share Just Minded My Business with your family, friends, and colleagues. Engage with us by leaving a review or comment. Your support keeps this podcast going and growing. Visit our website at jmmbmediallc.com to learn how we can support you in getting more visibility on your products and services. So grab a pen and paper and get ready for information that you can use. Well, I am so happy to bring to the platform today Mike Murphy, who is a distinguished growth leader with over 30 years as a C-level executive specializing in healthcare and insurance. As CEO, COO, and CRO, he excels in transforming businesses, revitalizing growth, and crafting innovative strategies. Mike's achievements include propelling a new insurance division from a cold start to 435 million in revenues and 22 million in EBITDA in 4 years, now exceeding 1 billion. Wow.
Yeah.
Definitely got the sauce, Mr. Murphy.
Yeah.
So welcome to the show, and let's go ahead and jump in. You have definitely turned a lot of companies around. So I'm confident you know what you're talking about.
I hope
So
so.
let's talk about the transformative strategies for healthcare and insurance companies.
Sure. Yeah, there's a lot going on right now in the healthcare space, and I've been on all sides of it. I worked in the so-called belly of the beast. I started my career inside big insurance companies. I ran health plans. So I saw the sausage making from, kind of the BUCAs described, Blues United, Cigna,
Mm-hmm.
and Aetna. So I saw all that. And then really the back half of my career has been more smaller ancillary point solutions. So right now there's a lot of really interesting things taking place, I think, in the market as it relates to healthcare and really the financing of healthcare. I think folks realize that that healthcare has become more and more unaffordable. There's been a rise towards high deductible plans. You're seeing growth in medical bankruptcies. You're seeing concerns and legislative concerns and roiling around transparency and consumers finding themselves with surprise medical bills. So there's a lot of energy right now in the healthcare space with regards to, and then there's also a conflagration, which is kind of interesting. It's the Western medicine ideals versus more holistic types of solutions, and that kind of bumping heads that are taking place. But the main thing I would say from a transformation perspective, where what I'm interested in is you kind of have the big folks, which they kind of control, between Medicare and Blues United, Cigna, big chunks of the market, and where most people kind of get their insurance from. But there's all kinds of creative new things that are taking place really kind of down market, more creative solutions around consumer engagement, outcomes, value-based care, integrating holistic medicine. And then there was a lot of investment into that over the last 5 to 10 years. So some of the companies that I've looked at and participated in are in that realm, that provider payer service, got a unique thing. I can help your consumers be more healthy, or I can help improve the financial outcomes, or I can do more in terms of your pharmacy costs. Is the whole market is really roiling, and but there's a lot of really kind of neat and creative things that are taking place out there, but they're very, very small, and it'll be interesting to see if that kind of revolution takes place and takes hold going forward.
Wow. So in terms of I just had a recent bout with my husband having to go in the hospital. And what I found was once he came home, they had more home care services.
Hmm.
Also, they integrated like a cell phone where I could do all the vitals and just send
Yep,
it over to the nurses. And I think that's brilliant.
it is. Yeah, my own personal experience, same thing. Had a issue where my heart was fluttering a little bit, and went to my doctor. First step was just giving me a cuff and taking my blood pressure every day, and automatically fed into their medical records. And the second one was actually wearing a monitor, was wasn't obtrusive, wasn't in the way, and they were able to watch me.
Hmm.
So this kind of hospital at home development is certainly getting a lot of traction. But part of the reason is, frankly, and they know this, a hospital is not a good place to be if you're sick.
No, you got that right, because I
You're
feel
right,
like my husband came home sicker than he went.
yeah, it's true. I'm not a shot against hospitals. I mean, God bless them, they save people's lives, but there are a lot of sick people in there. There's a lot of things you can catch. So
Yes.
minimizing the amount of time you spend in the hospital, not only economically, but the outcomes, right? The actual outcomes that are shown, in terms of your husband's return to, to health and all that. I mean, it's off the charts. So the more that can be done at home, the more that can be done, if they're, if the caregiver is, there is, it's just better. It's just better care.
Yes, it is. And you talked a little bit about holistic care.
Hmm.
That's what I implemented.
Good for you. Yeah,
That's what
I'm
I
a late
implemented.
converter. I frankly wasn't. I was always skeptical. I was one of those, show me the literature. Let me see the literature. You're one of those guys. And I'll tell you a quick story. And it did shake me. This was probably about 20 years ago. And I was working for a big, large insurance company. And we had an annual event where we invited all our largest customers, so the gigantic employers, when they were our customers. And then we had all these various guest speakers. And so I went to one of the breakout sessions, and there was this doctor in there, and he walks out on stage, and he looks like he's out of the LL Bean catalog, right? He's got a beard, and he's got the eye patches, and the corduroys, and the Birkenstocks. Like, oh, who's this guy? And he literally was from the Berkshires. He was a family practice doc in the Berkshires, Harvard trained. He kind of goes on, he stumbles a little bit, and he takes off his coat. He's not wearing a hoodie, puts it on the stage, and I'm a marketing and salesperson by affect, not just the CEO. And I'm going, oh my God, who cleared this guy? And he started to talk, and my jaw just fell.
Hmm.
And what he talked about, which is to me, it's is that and we saw, of course, with COVID and things like that, the National Institutes of Health and others back, during the Reagan administration, um, a lot of that, it used to be the NIH, and literature was controlled, by the community.
Hmm.
And what he found is, this was talking about, and he talked about statins, and this was he was reading the literature about whether or not women, asymptomatic or other things, should be on statins or not. And he went to the literature, it was JAMA or one of these other articles, and they said, no, it's perfectly okay. And they referenced another study. And he was just studious enough or nerdish enough to go look up that other study, and it said nothing of the sort. It said nothing of the
Hmm.
sort. Of course, now we know now, and again, I get the details wrong, that there were serious issues with women taking statins when they shouldn't be, and cervical cancer and all this other stuff. And it quickly got changed. But he started to pull the string down and talk to the folks doing the medical literature, and a lot of them, didn't want to get and disrupt the apple cart, because there's huge amounts of money flowing in. And so
Yes.
I have personally rediscovered, I still have a very healthy respect for Western medicine, don't get me wrong, but I certainly have rediscovered the value of holistic medicine and
Hmm.
fundamental and spirituality and all that. I mean, it that's, that the dis-ease, is not just a pill, right? There's other things going on in your life. And so anyway, if there was one thing, if I could get a wand and go poof and change healthcare forever, it would be for the NIH and some of these public policy groups, CDC and others, to recapture and own truly, controlling the cost of, and the investment in literature and outcomes, because there's been a lot of things that we've done as a society around healthcare and things that have not resulted in the best outcomes.
Yes.
And it's not the transparency anybody would hope for. So again, great respect for what we do on a science basis, but there's got to be room at the table for holistic medicine as well, because it is absolutely viable part of the whole experience.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
people don't want band-aids on their issues.
Right.
They want, results. And sometimes it's to me, it's a combination of both. What you're putting in your body
Yep.
as well as Western medicine.
Yep. Yeah, today's better living chemistry, right? So, we've got this, we're going to spend, billions of dollars on weight loss drugs, Ozempic and others, and say, pop a bill because, weight loss is hard. Lord knows I struggle with it. But, I remember talking to a friend of mine, he's a scientist, and he said, all, pharmaceutical is just taking one pill that causes something over here, and then you take another one to try to, and
Hmm.
next thing you know, on 4 or 5 of them, and they're all playing with one another. And in some ways, your body's telling you something, and
Absolutely.
are you listening to it? So I
Absolutely.
love to see, and it's roiling, it's not there yet, but I think if, our king of the world, you'd certainly see a lot more in the way of holistic medicine being normalized as part of the benefit structure. I'll tell you one other quick story too is, and I won't say what the name of the insurance company was, but they figured out, this is about 20 years ago, and I thought it was brilliant. They figured out that those that were interested in holistic, medicine, whether it was, or even just TCM or meditation or things like that. So they said these are the folks actually are the healthiest folks. So they went out and actually created a benefit string designed to attract those people to their health plan because they knew they weren't going to have as many claims as, say that somebody that's having a gravy sandwich for lunch, right? So
Hmm.
anyway, there's it would be great, but I always tell folks that and again my own discovery and just the help of daughter and wife and all, just trying to get more educated. There's a lot. Your body's amazing, right? You
It
should listen
is
to it.
amazing. And
Yep.
not only that, God put something here for everything.
Yep. No doubt. Yeah, that's spirituality. And the interesting thing is if you listen to people that are, I mean, deep, deep thinkers in science and biology, and they talk about the human biome, and they talk about the 10 to the 31 kind of, I guess we call them viruses or such exosomes that exist, and how our body reacts to things. I mean, they're just jaw drop, God fearing folk because they said it's just so beyond anything that's just described by mechanics and physics.
Hmm.
It's a miracle, and
It is.
it is a miracle, and it's so yeah, I that sort of spirit. And the other thing too is if anybody ever gets doubting Thomas about, I always throw this one at him. The placebo effect is an acknowledged um, phenomena. In fact, it's actually used in the literature when they go to approve a drug. So if a drug has a certain amount of efficacy because of the placebo effect, that is, the people think it's going to work and therefore work, they give that credit, in terms of the approval of the drug. But you think about it, what's the placebo effect? The placebo effect is literally mind over matter. It's just somebody saying, I think this is going to make me healthy, and it makes them healthy. What
Yes.
else do you need to know? Right? It's like, what else do you need to know? It's out there. Everybody knows it. It just, people go right by it, don't pay any attention to it. Say, wait a minute. Maybe we spend a little more time on that. Maybe we'll spend a little more time on that mindfulness, spirituality. Think about what you're putting into your body, being careful about what you do. Not just, I got to run to the doctor and get a magic pill. So
Yes.
anyway, I'm a healthcare insurance guy talking about holistic medicine. So
But it just definitely is worth looking at.
absolutely.
It really is. And with the exorbitant cost of health insurance, the average family can't afford it. You go to now, when I have to go to the dentist, I need to know how much it's going to cost first.
Yep. Yeah. Well, let's see. What dentistry was interesting, and as because you should buy insurance for things that are potential catastrophic loss, right,
Yeah.
or that sort of thing, right? So obviously you buy insurance on your house, not so much your automobile, but the liability on your automobile, right? So God forbid something happens and somebody gets hurt, and that sort of thing. I mean, I don't buy warranties, on appliances. Like I don't need an insurance policy to protect the $100 blender, right? No,
Right.
I'll just get another one, right?
Right.
But what's interesting is on the insurance side um, is that obviously the costs of it have gotten really stretched out, right? And it really have got. I mean, it's exorbitant. I mean, I know my own um, policy between me and my deductible. I have to, and so we're insuring three of us. I have to run up $35,000 to $40,000 in costs before I even pay for in
Hmm.
deductible and co-insurance. I mean, that's just not sustainable. But on the other hand, I can't afford to lose a house, so I have to buy the kind of catastrophic insurance to kind of protect it. So, and part of it too, frankly, was a reason. A lot of the reason the costs went so far up, it was the Affordable Care Act had some great things associated with it, which is it got more people that with pre-existing conditions and more folks who couldn't afford, because usually you could get Medicaid up to Medicaid and anybody above that couldn't get it. But unfortunately, with the reforms they did around pre-existing and stuff like that, the baby went out with the bathwater. So
Hmm.
in our first year, just to give you an idea, I was at an insurance company in the first year post Affordable Care Act. Good news, more people enrolled, more people got health insurance. Great. And that barrier limited. The bad news is because some of the things they did, the cost doubled, tripled in 1 year. But
Hmm.
because the subsidies, a lot of consumers don't feel that, but that's the cost that's underneath. So, if you have an employer program or you have to go on Cobra or you don't qualify for a stipend, I mean, it's
Right.
unbelievably expensive, unbelievably expensive.
Yes, yes, for sure. Wow. So the thing of it is, I'm just really absorbing everything that you're talking about because it is definitely amazing. So if people now, in terms of how you support businesses with that transformation, can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So, and this was a journey I went on. I had a career. I was working for lots of different companies, and then had wrapped up as a CEO as a company, had done some really good work, and was trying to think about what I was going to do next. And somebody said, "Mike, you're really good at fixing and building." That's what I do. I like fixing, building things. I'm not a maintenance person. Like if you say to me, "This company's going great. Why don't you take over?" I'm going to break it just so I give you something to do. Right. Right. It's I like the adventure, right? So, and I like the notion of making an impact and being able to either grow something or repair it or fix it. I've always been a builder and fixer. And so I said, well, I'm just going to do that to try and touch as many companies as I can, many companies as I can help. And I do a lot. It's just brain pickage. Somebody calls me and said, "Hey, I'm looking at it," and I'm happy to do it. I find the business of business fascinating. But having said all that, I mean, there's some basic fundamentals that go into a business that I look for. The first is, give me your elevator speech. Why are you bigger, faster, better, cheaper? And what's interesting is a lot of companies don't really have that kind of, and it should be organized, but even if it's not organized, a business plan. What's your value proposition? What's your proprietary distinction? Why do you do it better, bigger, faster, better, cheaper than anybody else? What's your why? And that gives you your brand. It's not what you do, it's why you do it. What motivates you?
Mhm.
What's this culture that binds your organization together? Um, where are you in your journey? And again, some of the stuff's trite stuff, but it's the old SWOT: strength, weakness, opportunity. So it all works, right? Are you looking at yourself in a hard way? Are you asking yourselves the hard questions? Do you take the data that the business is telling you and look at it and
Mhm.
understand it, or do you just go on that river in Egypt? And denial. And what I find is the single biggest issue that most companies face is that conflagration of denial and change.
Mm.
Really hard, especially if you're an early stage company and see yourself as a visionary CEO or whatever, and you got this great idea, and people telling you can't do it, can't do it, tell you can't do it all the time, and you have that resiliency to push through. Except there are sometimes you're not listening, and you probably should think about what you're doing.
Mm.
I'll tell you a quick story on change, which I always, when I ever get a client and I see kind of this noise around how much first of all, do we all agree on our objectives and our goals? Everybody's sometimes you are, sometimes I would say,
Mhm.
this is in real life. This happened to me as an executive. Said, yeah, we all agree on the goal. So it sounds like we disagree on how much change, how far along are we towards achieving the goal? What do we have to do to the organization to be successful? Yes. Okay. So scale of 1 to 10. It's a neat little exercise. Anybody can do it. 1, we can sleep in our chair and we're going to get there. 10, we have to blow it up and start over again.
Mhm.
How much change do we need to make our goal? The goals are measurable. It could be sales or revenue or whatever it is. You got to go, and even not for profit, same thing. Whatever your goals are, there's a real objective you can measure. And in this one particular instance, there were half the executives were twos and half the executives were eights. So you got a fairly divided, kind of exec room. And then now from a change perspective, you can't you can't jump to 8 if the twos are right because you're going to blow up your company. But you
Mhm.
can start at 2, and as long as you have the time, you can turn the change up, rheostat up over time, and put more 8-level change into the organization. But what my own experience has been is that the folks. So in this particular case, we went another 60, 90 days, and the twos were way off. I mean, we needed dramatic change, but the twos became minus fours, right? They just didn't want to change whatsoever. So there is a cultural aspect to change and transformation that is really challenging. And my experience is just over and over again, that's the single biggest hurdle that I find with most organizations. This either the CEO, the COO, or the board, or whatever it is. They're on a mission. God bless them. They're entrepreneurs. They're thinkers. But do they really understand where they are in their mission and what are they doing to manage change? And then sometimes that creates confusion in the
Mhm.
culture and the organization, and it falls apart. So I
Absolutely.
always the little change thing, a little change vignette. I always do that test with customers and try to see if they where they are.
Yeah. So if companies want to work with you, how do they do so?
Well, they can, reach me at sunstonemanagementadvisors.com. And the other side is that we say is that we're happy to make connections, right? So I regularly reach out to folks, but I don't sell things, right? I mean, we have advisory business, we bring value, but I don't reach out to talk to folks to sell them stuff. I reach out to make a connection. Sometimes talking to these folks, you learn more, you stay plugged into
Mhm.
what's going on. It just makes you more valuable. And sometimes it's, oh, I know somebody. Let me be super connector. And it's not a commercial relationship. It's just paying it forward and bringing value. So at a minimum, happy to talk to folks. But then, we have there's 7 or 8 of us, all of us complementary skill sets, different things. We have marketers and operations and technology, every different skill sets that we can help our clients. But yeah, sunstonemanagementadvisors.com. And it's an easy way to get to us. And then I think we'll probably have my contact information in
Oh,
here as
yeah.
well. Easy for them to connect. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. One more question.
all right.
Um, let's talk about because you've transformed some companies to some really big
Mhm.
um um money in terms of, turning things around.
Right.
So, from concept to billion-dollar reality, what are some of the lessons in building and growing a new business?
Yeah, so I'd say the first thing I would say is wherever you start your journey is not likely where you're to finish it, right? And so you start off with a concept and an idea on where you're going to go, and invariably there's going to be twists and turns, particularly on the road to a billion. And with so I'll with some exceptions. So I would say that of my 2 most recent examples. So the insurance company I built from the ground up, and it's over a billion today. The journey and the execution was pretty consistent along the way. It was an underserved market. We were trying to do something a little bit. There wasn't a traditional just insurance company. We were also creating supplemental ancillary products to help people that had deductibles and co-insurance. So there was a demand that we were capturing. And so that journey from a strategy perspective, a little more linear. The other company that I did that I kind of helped turn around was a little bit more twists and turns.
Hmm.
And so the main thing is obviously is start with an understanding of your total addressable market, and understand how big is it so that you have a sense of what your goals can be over time, what's your competitive nature, what share of that do you think you can get,
Mhm.
why, and ask yourself the hard questions on why you deserve your customers. Truly, why are you bigger, faster, better, cheaper? I'll do this question as well. So, A equals B, B equals C, A equals C. A, I've got a great company and we're doing a terrific job and our customers love them. B, there's a big marketplace out there and I'm better than the competition. C, I'm growing by leaps and bounds and everything's going great. Well, 9 times out of 10, people believe A and believe C, but then you get to or believe A, believe B, and you get to C and they go, well, what's missing here? You got to check your premise. Constantly use data, informatics in your market to kind of check your premise. And the last thing I would say is that the journey is broken down into measurable steps using
Mhm.
data, balanced scorecards, not just kind of production stuff, sales and revenue, price mix volume, expenses, employee satisfaction, customer satisfaction, a balanced scorecard that it's going to track over time and it's going to change. You'll have up and down, on your way to a billion. But um, if you have done your work in terms of understanding the total addressable market, and there's room for $1 billion business there, if you have defined your niche with a clear competitive advantage on why you're bigger, faster, better, cheaper, and you have the discipline as a business, financially, engineering, HR, all of that to execute it. The journey is going to be the journey, and you'll enjoy it every step of the way. But that is oversimplified and it's trite, but that's been my journey, and that's how I've made it work.
Wow. And it makes sense, you
Yeah, I like to think it's something I thought of, and I'm a genius, but it's common sense, right? You find a lot of businesses, God bless them, don't have it, and so it's really just have a business plan, understand who you are, grade yourself hard, no easy marks, no guts, build the right culture with your employees. 90% of what a manager does revolves around their people, not themselves. So make sure you've got that leadership and that culture where you're surrounded yourself with people that make you better. You make the whole greater than the sum of the parts. I mean, simple, dopey stuff, but a lot of companies don't do it. I mean, I guess if they did do it,
Yeah,
they wouldn't need me. So
yeah, true that. A
yeah,
lot of companies don't. They get into this culture that doesn't really support the business at all. The employees are totally unhappy,
yeah.
and unhappy employees means productivity is going to drop.
No doubt. I tell this story, and my father never didn't go to college. He ended up working in white collar, and so when I got out of college, I was a history major. I was going to work for a big insurance company, and he goes, and he wasn't particularly loquacious, and he just said, let me give you some hints on what's good, because I'd always worked blue collar growing up to work my way through college. He said, you're going to put a suit on for the first time ever, and he said, let me give you a little idea of what it's like in the corporate world. And he said, first thing is out earn your pay. That's your pride. He said, it's, equal partnership, you give 51%. And the great Bill Russell, who was one of my heroes growing up, his father told him the same thing. He said, but a different angle is if you're more valuable to the job than the job is to you, you can tell your boss to go to hell. So, so like that, right?
Ain't that
So
the truth?
yeah, it ain't the truth, right? So out earn your pay, equal partnership at 51%. Two, don't spend other people's money. Don't get caught up in the water cooler and I'm not getting promoted. Did you hear about Bill and Sally and all that nonsense? It's poison. It's vacuous.
Mhm.
Stay away from it. And the third thing he said is just make sure your boss knows who you are, what you're doing, and if you're with the right organization and you're doing something that matters and you're doing something well, that all works out. And so everywhere I've been, I've always tried to create that culture where I
Mhm.
got a team full of people that in equal partnerships, they're given 51%. They're out earning their pay, that they're not caught up in the nonsense and they understand the mission. And and we know what's going on. And that's what, I mean, my career magic has taken place when you've gotten people around you like that and you've created that environment. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So again, Mike, how do companies connect with you?
Yeah. So, yeah, sunstonemanagementadvisors.com. And again, contact information. I'm on LinkedIn too. Michael F. Murphy. And so you can find me there. And I'm my contact info below. And again, if you just want to reach out and chit chat, I'm happy to make a connection. You know, I'm love learning about what people are doing, and if I can bring value, great. If not, I might know somebody that can help. So I'm happy to play the role.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Mike.
Thank
This
you. I
has
really
been,
enjoyed our conversation.
I
Thanks for having
did
me on.
too. I did too. We touched a lot of different
We
things.
did. We went far afield. We went all over the place. So that's
Absolutely.
great.
So I'm looking forward to another collaboration with you. So
Likewise, I really enjoyed it.
thank you so much.
Thank you, Ida.
Appreciate you.
All righty. Take care.
Thank you to our guests and you, our valued audience, for stopping by. We truly appreciate you. Many blessings to you and yours.